And welcome to the Rim Check podcast. Am I the only one who was thinking last night, this Last Dance documentary makes me think about how good LeBron's is going to be in 20 years?
For sure. LeBron's the good...
This production company is going to have a lot of experience by then. Some good documentaries already.
Yeah, they'll be able to edit it to make LeBron James look good.
I think because LeBron has so many better numbers than, because he has the best numbers. LeBron has all the best numbers. I think because his numbers are so much better than Michael Jordan's, he needs to have at least 15 episodes in his.
Yeah, that's a good point though, because his career, like his longevity, it would be tough to make a documentary about that.
Yeah, no, we don't even know when LeBron's last dance is probably going to be when he's passing to his son in 27.
When he's still averaging 25 a game.
Yeah, no. People were like, it's getting kind of slow, 45 years old, 46. Could he do that? Do you guys think he could do that?
Is this the year he finally slows down? 45 to 46? No, but I could see him being like a Tom Brady type where he's past 40 and he's still the dude on a team.
Yeah, all right. I do too. I just realized we spent the first 2 minutes of this talking about LeBron instead of Michael Jordan.
Well, then let's talk about this Michael Jordan doc that we all watched last night. We saw the first two episodes. What'd you guys think?
Yeah. You want to go first, Sam?
Sure. Yeah. I really loved watching it. It was super entertaining. I love anything basketball related, in the wake of everything that's going on, not having basketball. Definitely nice to get a little bit of content. But I thought it was super interesting, and they really are going at this from like a way of honesty and not like trying to hide scandals and stuff like that. So I think that the whole
we don't know that yet.
Look, what they showed so far definitely didn't paint Jordan in the best light. So I'm excited to see what comes next for the next 8 parts.
I agree. It was an unbiased look at Jordan, which was pretty cool.
I think this Michael Jordan doc is the perfectly timed documentary, and I was so excited to watch it. But like, at the same time, I have to admit, I was born in '96. Like, we're all young. I was too young to watch Michael Jordan in this era, so I definitely don't have the nostalgia, if you will, of like, I remember when he did this and that and this or that. And so like, there's a couple takeaways I took. I thought Michael Jordan, for one, came across, he was right as a dick, but we knew he was a dick. But like, for people that didn't know he was, like my mom didn't know, like that was kind of like, surprising. So Sam's right that they showed him unfiltered in that sense. But I also thought that they really kind of glossed over certain things, and this is maybe a bigger argument to get in later, but Michael Jordan is always celebrated for being the winner. Many would say he's better than LeBron because he went for 6 for 6 in the finals, right? But when they were talking about his amazing performances during the 86 Celtics, for instance, which was an amazing performance regardless, they just glossed over the fact that he got like swept in that series, or he got dominated. Michael Jordan, the quote-unquote winner, lost his first 3 years in the season in the NBA after having 3 years in college. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm not trying to say he's bad, but you know what I'm trying to say.
No, yeah, I feel you on that. And also, the one thing I forgot while I was watching, or what the doc reminded me of when I was watching it, the fact that it took him so long to win that first title. Like, he was drafted in 83, and he didn't win the first one till what? It was 91, right?
91.
Yeah. That's a really... I mean, LeBron James was kind of the same way. I think like he was like 27, 28 when he won his first. But like, that's a really long time for someone who's considered so great to even get to their first title. Especially someone who won 6, you know?
I mean, I definitely think that kind of lined up with the timelines of Magic in his prime and Bird in his prime. And especially in the NBA today, like, there's so much hype around young players who are like putting up amazing numbers, but they're not expected to like actually contribute to true winning at that level. But like Ja Morant, it's all about these highlights, and he's putting up crazy numbers in losing games. And so I think that Jordan was amazing in that time for how old he was, but not necessarily was ready to bring a team to the finals.
Yeah, I mean, also the fact that he averaged 28 points a game as a rookie. Actually, did you see the stat on there that he led his team in points, rebounds, assists, and steals his rookie season? Like what? That's insane.
Yeah, well, also, I think that was also a product of how bad that team was. I didn't realize how unpopular the Chicago Bulls were before Michael Jordan played there. But just real quick on your point about like him not winning for a while. That is true. And again, by saying all this, we're not saying obviously he's a bad player. He's one of the greatest of all time. But this is a guy who the reason people from his era say he's above everyone else is because he's a winner, right? And for instance, they say they knock LeBron for having a losing record in the finals, but no one talks about the fact that LeBron made it to the finals in his third year. Michael Jordan didn't make it for way longer than that, and yet that's held against LeBron. That's what the hypocrisy of that type of logic annoys me. Like and the reason that I think people go there is because numbers wise, Michael's not better.
Yeah, and that team that LeBron took to the finals. I mean, come on.
Oh my God! Exactly. Yeah.
A whole nother discussion.
It's ridiculous for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's like MJ. Yeah. I mean, anybody needs help to win a championship. You know, you need that second guy. You need a Pippen. You need, well, in the Warriors case, I was going to say Kevin Durant, but that's just ridiculous. But
yeah, you didn't need Kevin Durant.
Wade needed Shaq. I mean, really, when you think about in recent modern history, I'd say the only team that really didn't have that number two, and it was more just a collective team effort, was the Mavs. With Dirk, with Dirk as the dude, and then you just kind of had all these like savvy veterans who were willing to, you know, put it out there.
Well, that's what I said last. That's what I said last show, right? Is that you need at least two Hall of Famers to win for the most part. Like not even two superstars, two Hall of Famers.
Yeah,
and yeah,
the Mavs had no shortage
LeBron.
of Hall of Famers on that team, but it's just the fact that a lot of them were past their prime.
Yeah, no, that was a crazy team.
But, like, to talk about Pippen, like, just to say, like, okay, you had Jordan, who was maybe the GOAT, and then a Hall of Famer next to him. I don't think that really, like, gives it enough credit, like, how good Scottie Pippen was and what that meant for Jordan.
Yeah.
Like, he was one of the best guys in the league.
They said he was the second best player in the league at that time.
Right.
Hey, can we talk about how he got robbed? Can we talk about that contract situation? Because I had no idea that he was making $18 million over 7 years.
What?
Yeah.
So is that must be like a new collective bargaining thing, right? Where you can't sign a contract that long.
Yeah.
Is that like the Scottie Pippen rule, like an unwritten Scottie Pippen rule?
I don't know. But that's exactly what I thought about too. Like, how did the players' union allow that? But like, why also didn't they want to offer him more money once he got better? Like, I know they didn't have to, but anyone knows if you want to run a good business, you need your employees to be happy and comfortable. And he's like, the Bulls aren't who they are without Scottie Pippen, so you need to make him comfortable. Or, I mean, I guess it ended up working in the end.
That's a good analogy, Reed. It's like if it's your best salesman and he thinks he's getting underpaid, but he's bringing in all the revenue for your company, you're not going to say, "All right, leave." You know what I mean? You say, "All right, we'll pay you more."
Exactly.
Well, it wasn't a players' league then like it is now. Like, now teams really want to make sure that their players are happy, and I think that the mindset was completely different.
Oh yeah,
totally
you saw the GM dude. I forgot his name. It sounded kind of like
Larry.
I actually don't remember his name at all.
Larry. We could just look it up, but yeah, go ahead, Reed.
The dude from the Monstars. That meme. But like, I think that guy was a perfect example of like he actually knew what he was doing because low key he put that team together.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He drafted Scotty. He did all that kind of stuff. But Sam's right. It's that idea. And honestly, maybe this is kind of the era that forced it to become a players' league because people realize like these owners will take advantage of you if you give them any leeway. And we need to not allow that. You know, just because you own the team doesn't mean you can treat anyone in your workplace however you want. You still want to run a productive business that's a positive place to be.
You're right.
Right, and winning is definitely, it relates to happiness. I mean, the teams that play well together, that root for each other, are the ones that succeed. And having Pippen next to Jordan in this case, it wasn't just having the second best player in the league playing with Jordan and going to 6 finals together. It was the second best player in the league making $2 million a year while Jordan was making 30 plus.
Yeah,
right. The value in that, not just having him, but having him at that amount of money, made them able to bring in all kinds of other talent and bolster the roster. Just like the Warriors did with Steph Curry being on a $10 million deal.
I was just gonna, Sam. I was just gonna mention that. Can we also talk about when you're a dynasty? Like it also comes down to luck, right? Like you get Scottie Pippen to sign that contract. Like you said, you have all this money to sign other players. But what about Steph Curry for the first 4 years of his career, just hamstrung by injuries, just could not stay on the court.
Exactly.
Signs a 4-year, $40 million contract. So Steph Curry, the unanimous MVP, is making $10 million a year. So then you can go out and sign Kevin Durant. Like it does require a little bit of luck, good fortune, right place, right time.
But and also, like, my thing about that, the reason the Scottie Pippen situation broke my heart, because at the end of the day, he's still making $18 million over those amount of years, so he's not he's not going to be living this disheveled type of life. But it just broke my heart because he explained why he did it. And obviously, they prefaced his family situation. I mean, Scottie Pippen's upbringing and his ability to make the NBA is one of the most unbelievable things in and of itself. He was the equipment boy for his college team his first year. I mean, I'd already known that, but just to see it actually play out, so you can understand why, after going through all of that, being offered $18 million to play basketball and to have the job security of over the next 7 years. From where he's coming from, I can understand why he took it, even though in the moment it was a bad decision.
No, I agree. It's also different back then. Like, if you're in the early 1990s, he doesn't have social media.
Yeah.
He can't like go on social media and like you're not really as informed. You know what I mean? So you're not really seeing all these people say this is a bad deal. This person gets this deal. So it's kind of like it's just a different world. So it's
And his entire family, they were born with the lowest vocal cords ever.
Dude, their voices are so deep. It literally like vibrates when they speak.
It sounds like it's happening at two different frequencies, like one low one and one really low one.
I needed to turn the bass down on my TV set. I was just like, no.
Yeah, dude,
Or it sounds like when you get throat cancer, those talking boxes that people use to speak. Scottie Pippen's voice sounds like
Ned from South Park. Right, guys?
Yeah.
Right, guys?
I guess I've never seen South Park.
I know you haven't. I'm alone on this one. It's all right.
I'll get to it eventually, though.
Yeah, dude, it's one of the greatest shows. I mean, sorry to go on the tangent, but it is one of the greatest shows of all time, all things considered.
Yeah, I just don't have the time.
Oh no, I know we're all quarantined with absolutely nothing to do. We're busy out here.
I have a schedule that's been scheduled. Let me just say that it's been scheduled already.
Yeah.
Well, clearly the whole world was watching this doc. Nobody had anything to do, but there were some interesting points players made on social media. And I noticed that D Wade tweeted calling MJ the GOAT. It's a little controversial read coming from your man on the Heat.
My favorite NBA player of all time.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
Well, I think he's wrong if he means that there can only be one GOAT. But I think that the term GOAT over the last 8 years or 5 years has morphed into this other meaning the toppest of the tier players. But like multiple people can be GOATs, I think it seems. Not that I think that's how it should be, but I think people throw that around way too loosely, right? And so I think that I think it's because LeBron's made such a hard decision because we never thought anyone would be better than Michael. So we have gotten to the point where there's about 6 or 7 of them now. And in that case, he is right. Michael Jordan's, of course, a GOAT.
So, Reed, but like when someone says GOAT, that means greatest of all time. Like, doesn't that imply?
Oh, I know. That's why it annoys me.
One though.
Yeah, but that's why it annoys me. But it is what it is. Just because that's how it. I mean, you make complete sense. But like language morphs over time. I don't know, but it just seems like that's the case because I see that emoji used way too often.
Yeah, and you're right. And people have different subcategories of GOAT. Like people will be like, "Oh, pound for pound, Allen Iverson's the GOAT," or they'll be like, "Oh, like
oh my."
They'll be like, "Bill Russell's the GOAT, big man." You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
yeah, exactly.
And I mean, I think the GOAT argument, it's LeBron and Jordan. I think it's LeBron.
Yeah.
Sam, what do you think?
I definitely think it's LeBron. But
yeah, me too.
If you're gonna expand GOAT to not be the greatest, but just like a great of all time, who else do you guys put in that conversation?
Oh,
Reed, you want to go?
Kobe for sure.
Yeah,
Kobe for sure. How many can there be? Like,
do five. Do five.
All right, so Kobe. This definitely I might not stand by. Okay, also like. I would put Dwayne Wade in my GOAT conversation because of what he means to me, but he can't be. Like, I wouldn't label him as a GOAT. Do you know what I mean? So we're doing it straight up, like unbiased type thoughts, like not who are your 5 biggest players, for instance. Just
just in your opinion.
Who do you think are the best players who fit into the who could be called a GOAT and not be laughed at? Because Dwayne Wade, I would definitely laugh at you if you called him.
Yeah, well, he's the 3rd greatest shooting guard of all time. But yeah, the problem is the other two are Kobe and Michael, who are GOATs, of course, top 5. LeBron. You got to put Kareem up there, right? And then I don't know. I think that last one's interchangeable. I wouldn't go like Bill Russell or Wilt Chamberlain just because basketball is so much worse back then. So even if they were great players.
I think you got to go Magic.
I liked your, so Reed, like for example, like my top 5 would be LeBron, Jordan, Kobe, Kareem, Magic. That'd be my top 5. Sam?
Yeah, I definitely. You couldn't laugh at that one.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty close to what I would say. Maybe I put Kobe at like 6 or 7. I think there's an argument for Shaq to be in there. Just to, when Shaq and Kobe played together, I think that Shaq won all the finals MVPs. So if you're talking about overall like long-term success as a dominant player, there's an argument for Shaq.
Yeah, but the problem with Shaq's career is he kind of trailed off near the end, and also Kobe proved in the late 2000s that he could lead a team to championships.
With
like
Pau Gasol as his
never
sidekick.
did. Yeah, exactly.
It's true.
Yeah, no, I mean, just like one question I have that I was thinking about. So, like, where do you guys think Steph Curry is going to end up on this debate? I know.
Well, I have him actually way lower because his defense is like that. I think I've got to put him below top 10 because his defense is nowhere near what you consider other superstars like that to be. But he's also, I think, arguably at the same time, maybe the greatest point guard of all time. So like, it's weird, right?
So do you think so? Not in the end, because basketball is continuously ongoing forever, but like in our generation of players,
Maybe.
In our generation of players, you can pick someone outside these two, but do you think that Kevin Durant or Steph Curry goes down as the better shooter?
The better shooter, Curry.
Shooter,
but,
yeah, Curry's the greatest shooter of
overall
all time.
Player, I think there's a real conversation there.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
And I think Kevin Durant. I mean, and I've said this before. I think Kevin Durant may go down. I mean, I think he kind of hurt his legacy by going to the Warriors. So I don't think he'll ever be thought of on LeBron's level unless he does some crazy stuff with Brooklyn. And then, you know what I mean? He could, but it's a lot less likely. That being said, I think Kevin Durant might be the single greatest bucket getter of all time. Just in terms of a 7-footer who can shoot, not as good as Curry, but he can shoot so well. Like, I've never seen a more individually dominant player to the point where he was really on par with LeBron for a good amount of time.
Yeah, I think that not only did KD hurt his own legacy by going to the Warriors, but he also hurt Steph Curry's. I mean,
for sure.
Without KD, Steph led a team to one championship. And I think that if KD didn't come, I think that the Cavs and Warriors were going to go back and forth and really have like amazing final series like over and over again until somebody left. But by KD going there, it just made it so that there wasn't really a fight.
I agree, Sam.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree, Sam. And by the way, I just want to put a little tidbit in there. Steph Curry won that one championship against LeBron James and Matthew Dellavedova. I want to throw that out there. That's what he needed. And remember, LeBron, they were up 2-1 against them too, by the way.
Yeah.
So Curry really, I mean, history, you can't rewrite history, but who knows what would have happened.
But he couldn't carry a team like LeBron or even like a Kawhi or someone. He doesn't have the defense.
Yeah.
Like if he was going one-on-one against Michael. So that's what the asterisk is. And it doesn't come across as disrespect because I think he's the greatest shooter of all time. And arguably, that's also the weird thing too is that who else do you put as the greatest point guard of all time besides Magic Johnson? That's the only person I could really think you could argue for, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
besides that,
when you talk about point guard, do you mean the player who ran the offense, who set up their teammates and had the overall like biggest impact on the game? Because then I say LeBron's a point guard because he does that job.
But I guess someone who's established as a point guard. I don't know. It sounds kind of iffy, fishy, but like just the guys we know are point guards.
Yeah, no. I think you're right. It's like who else could you pick? Like you can't pick Allen Iverson. You can't pick Chris Paul. I think you're right.
Right. Steve Nash, but also Nash. Steve Nash. I mean, as a Canadian, Steve Nash is maybe my second favorite player of all time. Maybe third behind LeBron. And Steve Nash is amazing, but he did win, and he has 2 back-to-back MVPs. People forget that. Back-to-back
he
MVPs.
Didn't deserve, but
he didn't deserve them. If you go look back at those stats, Kobe's stats were way better. But I still love that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Steph Curry too. A point's been made about Steph Curry is he might be though a GOAT in terms of his impact on basketball. I think he's maybe the most influential player of our generation behind LeBron.
Oh, definitely. Well,
because 3-point shooting was not a big deal until not until Steph, but Steph really changed the way these people play basketball, and it's going to affect generations to come. We've already seen it already in the beginning with young players like Trae Young in the NBA.
I think that as far as like influence on the game and like really like the game developing around the way they play it, I think that Curry has had more of an impact than LeBron. Just because, I mean, like you just said, for generations to come, like the 3-point shot has just become.
I would say LeBron was a big I would say LeBron was a big advocate, though. Sorry, about big guys being able to play like guards. I mean, Magic, maybe you could say that, but so I think LeBron had that influence. We forget because we're like with a lot of great things, and you could be right. I'm not saying that this is exactly it, but I would argue that LeBron's so great. Like a lot of the things he's done, we just forget about them, or we don't appreciate them because they're so there. He really influenced the next generation of guys who are 6'8", 6'9", like Ben Simmons. Now I'm going to be a point guard now.
That's a great point.
No, yeah, definitely. And like speaking of like the influence on young kids, like you watch Trae Young, and like he comes into the league immediately, and he looks just like Steph Curry in the way he plays. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Luka Doncic, he has more of like Luka Doncic is more of like an MJ vibe to him. You know what I'm saying? In the way he plays because he's so well rounded. But like you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of players come into the league and they don't really develop as quickly as that, and then it almost feels like a lot of teams like give up on them. You know what I'm saying? Like for example, like I think of like D'Angelo Russell, like who obviously he came in Kobe's last year. His first year was Kobe's farewell tour, so he had to deal with that. Then he had to deal with the whole Nick Young thing. So he had a lot of growing up to do. Meanwhile, he's like 19 years old in Los Angeles and a millionaire. Right. So like then he goes to Brooklyn, becomes an all-star, leads them to the playoffs, gets traded for Kevin Durant. But so it's like who do you guys think are like some of those players that teams either gave up on too early or kind of became late bloomers that turned into stars?
Well, I was also going to say that another point, I saw Nick Wright make this point about it, is that at the same time people are giving up on early, that you kind of know by the really young age if they're that type of superstar, right? So it kind of actually gave me more insight onto why people give up on players so young. And it's kind of makes sense. Like if you have a LeBron, a Michael Jordan, a Kobe Bryant, you know by the time they're 23, 22, 20, like you know if they're that good. So maybe teams like, no, you need that type of guy to win a championship. So if this guy's not him, boom, we got to go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, the arguably top 3 player in the NBA, like Giannis, nobody saw him at 18, 19 years old, as you're saying, and said he's going to be one of the best players in the league, right?
Yeah, but by 23...
Well, he grew into his game, and by 23, we're seeing it. But I also think that mainly applies to like the top superstar. But there's a lot of examples of guys who just like didn't have opportunity, where their team, like D'Lo, their team just decided to go in a different direction, and his career could be hurt based on that. Like Victor Oladipo comes to mind, where he was playing next to Russ and was only given catch and shoot opportunities, and that's just not his game. But he developed into a star when he was able to have the ball in his hands.
And I mean, I think another great example is Kawhi Leonard, right? Like Kawhi Leonard, he like the Spurs were hesitant to trade George Hill for Kawhi Leonard. They did it, and then they got him. But like in hindsight, how ridiculous that sounds. But I mean,
yeah, for sure.
The Kawhi Leonard,
or CJ McCollum.
What did you say, Reed?
Or CJ McCollum.
Or CJ McCollum, yeah, that's your boy. But like Kawhi Leonard, like he comes into the league, he's last year's argument when they were like people were like, oh, he's better than LeBron. He's not. Calm down. But the fact that he was able to take the league over like that for a player that was not a top draft pick, came in defensive specialist, and then developed his game so much to the point where if he's on your team, you have a chance to win a championship.
Yeah,
that's a good point. I mean, Steph Curry's probably the best example of that, right? No one thought he was necessarily going to be what he's become.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, the reason that Steph was so underpaid wasn't because that the Warriors didn't like his game or didn't think that he was going to be a star. It was because his ankles were shitty and they were worried that he wasn't going to be able to play a whole season.
No, yeah, exactly. He literally had to get surgery to like replace the tendons in his ankles. Reed?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did.
He did.
Yeah, that's
true.
I
thought I heard something.
How about this? So Steph Curry, whose father is Del Curry, a great NBA player. Steph Curry goes to Davidson College.
What's his mom's name? Mac?
Yeah, exactly. But so Steph Curry goes to Davidson College.
Oh boy.
He goes to Davidson College, even though his dad was an NBA player. So is Steph Curry an underdog in the sense that he didn't get to go to those top recruits?
You're going to do it to me.
That he didn't get to, that he wasn't a top recruit, or was he just not that good when he was younger?
Oh my God. Okay. I got. Okay, I don't know where to start. This is Ian's making fun of me because I got into an argument with like this Instagram account called Ballers Tribune about this exact topic, and the point I had made was that I think Steph Curry is not necessarily an underdog if you look at it from like a sociological standpoint. Like, of course, his narrative was underdogish in the terms we didn't know where he came from. We like all of a sudden, bam, this guy that was pretty good in college. I mean, he was a star in college, but like he's not built like a LeBron or a Kawhi Leonard or any of these big super Carmelo Anthony. Ends up being up there with him in terms of GOAT conversation, at least Hall of Famer. But the point I made was that Steph Curry was born with every advantage to be an NBA player. So from a society standpoint, he had the biggest advantage you could possibly have. So for that reason, I don't think of him as an underdog. He was born to an NBA father who's a multi-millionaire, who has the genetics of an NBA player. He ended up being 6'3", which is not tiny. It's the same height as Steve Nash, the same height as Dwayne Wade. I mean, there's a lot of advantages he was born with. And I got killed for it, but I know I'm right, so I don't care.
I mean, Ballers Tribune DM'd Reed to further explain their points.
Oh yeah, that. Well, they were whoever runs that account's a clown.
We'll tag them in the promo.
Yeah.
Sam, what do you think? Do you think Steph Curry? Do you think he was underrated? Or do you think he just wasn't that good when he was younger?
I mean, I definitely am on the same side as Reed here. I think that if your parent is an NBA player, then you're already, like, from birth thinking about, okay, well, if I stay on this path and I, play a lot and get my game really good, then I have a huge leg up of going to the league. I mean, if your parent is an NBA player, then you definitely there's a clear path. Whereas if you have no connection to the NBA and you just work really, really hard, the percentage of people who actually make it is astronomically small.
Yeah, like LeBron never even met his dad.
Right.
Grew up he lived in shelters as a kid or whatever, but people would still think that LeBron was more advanced than Steph Curry. Like, come on, and I think that speaks to a larger point that we don't think of these players as human a lot of the time. We think of them as just like these machines that like
right.
don't have other aspects of their lives that affect their on-court performance.
They're just there to entertain us.
Are you not entertained?
The only point, I agree with you guys as well, which doesn't make for good content, but the only thing I'll say about Steph that gave him a little bit of a disadvantage is that he didn't play AAU when AAU was like the gold standard for recruitment. And his dad
why didn't he?
Because his dad believed that AAU doesn't hone your skills, or doesn't hone your basketball fundamentals. He thought that it was more just a showcase for the really good players to show off. So,
and my son is not one of those.
No, so he wanted to keep Steph in high school where he got better coaching and more. I don't know. That was pretty much like his reasoning for it. But I will say the only thing that put him at a disadvantage is that he didn't play AAU.
Yeah, but that's weird. His dad would think that. Like,
I know.
I mean, I guess so, but aren't the more in-game reps more important than?
I mean, yeah, I agree with you. Kobe didn't play AAU either. He turned out all right.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely doesn't. Oh, that's a good point too, right? But that's another reason that Kobe is Kobe and Steph is Steph. Like,
it obviously AAU definitely puts an emphasis on athleticism as opposed to fundamentals. I think if you're someone like John Wall back in the day, like, remember how crazy his AAU mixtapes are, actually a better example is Austin Rivers. Austin Rivers was like the AAU god, and look what happened to him. He's all right now. He was a bum at first.
Well, when I played AAU in high school, the two biggest differences between that and high school were the fact that AAU, think of it as like the NBA's game. Like, that was a lot more star driven, whereas high school, and maybe partly because my high school was a really good high school, Palo Alto, shout out Vikings. But that was a lot more of a system-oriented type of sport. I went to play there to plug into their system, right? Whereas in AAU, the ball was put into individuals' hands a lot more ISO-type ball, which I get why his dad would think that would create bad habits, right? Because it turns you into a James Harden-type player, or, Steph Curry kind of became like that anyways. But I think that the lessons you learn from the situations of, like, trying to carry a team, the emotional strain of having to actually be the one who takes the shot all the time, like, a lot of things that come out of that I think would benefit a player more than just whatever bad habits they may pick up.
Mm-hmm. Sam?
Yeah, well, I think what you guys are getting at, which nicely leads into our next topic, is that there has been a traditional route to the NBA in the past, right? You play AAU, then you go and you play in college, and, one and done, and then you go to league. And we're seeing right now with the big news coming out that Jalen Green and Isaiah Todd have both elected to play in the G League instead of the NCAA, that there's not such a traditional route anymore that every star has to follow.
Yeah, that was like the biggest news ever, bro. Like, I think it's such a monumental moment in the professional basketball in America moving forward. And I think it's one of those moments, though, that in the moment is not as special for sure, especially with everything going on. People are more worried about other things. So the context of, like, basketball and what Jalen Green's going to do is like, okay, we just kind of want to see the NBA. But if this had gone on 2 years ago or goes on 2 years from now, hopefully everything is back to normal. Like, this is going to change college basketball forever because he's saying they're going to offer him $500,000 with the ability to make up to $1 million in endorsements and stuff.
And he can still go to college.
And he could still go to college. But that's not even the worry. The fact is that, like, why wouldn't more players end up doing this? They can make $1 million, get NBA-level training. This team is specifically made to groom you into the first pick in the NBA draft. It's a beautiful thing, and I'm so happy that Jalen Green is the one to make the decision because he's my favorite young player right now. He's going to really be known as a trailblazer, I think, for this.
Yeah, I think this is an amazing move by the NBA and by the G League. For so long, the NCAA has been like very set in its ways and not wanting to compromise. And the NBA, like I said, has become a players' league, and that definitely translates down to the G League as well. And the ability for players to start making money ahead of time, not risk their body playing for free. There's so many reasons why this makes more sense if your plan is to prepare yourself for the NBA. I think the biggest thing is that the G League and the players have the same interests, right? The NCAA wants to make money off of their players, but the G League knows what they're doing, that they're preparing these players to go and play in the NBA and give them money while they're doing it because that's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing.
I agree. And also, my point about college before is that part of this program is that you're offered a 4-year college degree they'll fully pay for. So if you want to go back to college in the future, they'll pay for your college. I mean, I know you'll be able to afford it when you're an NBA player, but I'm just saying that's a nice little piece. But I was going to say, no, you guys are right. And like, this is the way players should be developed. And you shouldn't go to the NCAA where they pretty much force you against your will to play. And you can't, and even if your family's, you don't have a lot of money or like, your parents.
It's like a cult.
Yeah. And like kids will get in trouble because the school will be like, oh, we know your mom doesn't have a job and you guys are struggling. She can come work for the school. We'll give her a job. She'll be able to, you know what I'm saying? And they'll be like, no, you can't do that. Your school's you're in trouble. We're going to, all that bullshit. But yeah, like you guys were saying, like, this is how players should be developed. Like NBA specific training, learning how to be a pro, learning finances, learning how to win games, championships. And I don't think you really get that at the NCAA level.
Yeah, and I understand why fans of college basketball would be worried or upset that some of the top prospects aren't going to go to the NCAA anymore. But I actually think that it doesn't even matter that much for, like, if you're watching March Madness, if like, those games and the teams that usually win titles aren't the ones that have these one-and-done players that are, very immature and just looking for a stepping stone to the league. It's the ones who have players stick around for 4 years, who really develop, who work together as a team, and you see a lot of older teams winning championships. I don't think this really hurts the NCAA that much.
Well, we're going to see who really likes college basketball and who likes just seeing these great players playing cool in jerseys they recognize. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I'm a Michigan fan, so I love college basketball. We produce shit. We got a couple good players in the NBA, but other than that, we got the 4-year, 5'9" point guard. Like, that's us.
Trey Burke.
Trey Burke. Oh, he's fantastic.
That was definitely a block, right?
What, dude? Can you believe that shit? I'll never get over that. And what makes that even worse? The fact that they vacated Louisville's wins and that championship from that year because they recruit because Rick Pitino with that whole Adidas scandal. So they should have gave Michigan the title, but they didn't. So now 2013, there's just no champion.
That's so. Would you really want the title though? If it's retroactively given to you?
I would want it because that was a block. We deserved that. That Michigan team. Sorry to go on a tangent, everyone. That Michigan team was so sick, dude. That was like Trey Burke, Karis LeVert, Tim Hardaway Jr., Nick Stauskas. That team was dope. None of them really. Well, Karis LeVert's good. Tim Hardaway's all right, but Michigan doesn't produce much talent.
Yeah, a lot of
so-
C-level NBA players.
Yeah, like
Since-
Moritz
since
Wagner.
the Fab Five.
But yeah, the Fab Five we had. I mean, even them. Like Jalen Rose was all right. Juwan Howard was all right. Chris Webber was good.
And Juwan Howard's back there as the coach.
Yeah, he's doing a good job too.
Well, I thought they didn't really get that many recruits, right? Like they're kind of.
So one of Michigan's top recruits is Isaiah Todd, who's like the second biggest
Yeah.
name behind Green to join this program. Which I mean, I don't blame him.
Yeah.
I would do the same thing if I were him.
Yeah, and do you think this goes back to like the Jalen Green thing? Do you guys think that this is just the beginning in terms of salary wise, that we could get to a point where these guys make $10 million a year?
10.
Or is this
In the
kind of
G
like
League?
the, I mean, not right away, but just like in terms of like Jalen Green's just the first one. So there's eventually going to be a guy who says, I want to make $1 million with the option to make $1.5 million, and you know what I mean? It's going to get pushed up, I think, eventually.
I think there's an economic ceiling on something like the G League. Like I think it's almost like minor league baseball. Minor league baseball, there's a lot more teams and players, so they don't pay as much. But I think you can only, in terms of salary, go so high in the G League, unless it comes to the point where they get rid of this program and then kids can go straight to the NBA. Then they make that kind of money. But I couldn't really see the G League even be able to afford something like that unless they get like a cut of like the endorse. I don't know. It would get into the weeds of everything, but I don't see that. What do you think, Sam?
Well, I think that Jalen Green's making $500,000 this year, next year, and he's not making that money to go and entertain the fans who go to G League games.
Yeah.
Right. They're giving him essentially a stipend to say, okay, here you go, you can make some money this year, and next year you're going to go to the NBA, and that's that. Like, no one's trying to like profit off of him.
But aren't they going to play against? Well, that's kind of actually my question. Sorry, this is actually my question about this team next. Is that who are they going to play? Like, are we not going to watch them play in a team, or are they going to travel around and play other teams in the G League? Are they going to they have to be playing people, right?
Yeah, it's a combination of both. Like I'm not sure. Are they specifically on a G League team?
I think from what I've heard, and I could be completely wrong. I probably should have looked this up before, but I think that they're an extra G League team, like an expansion team. But they're this special expansion team that has players that are all way better than the other teams. So it's like they can play in the G League. I think that's what it is, if I'm not mistaken. So all the other G League team are normal teams, and this is like the Super Friends team, like the World team. Like, you know, like they have the World versus USA.
Uh-huh.
This is like the World team, and all the other G League teams are just normal teams.
Yeah, I mean, another thing to consider too, just in terms of like Reed, you said with like the pretty much the stipend. They're free to sign endorsements now.
Yeah, that's a big
So
deal.
Jalen Green, like he could sign with Jordan right now if he can get $100 million if he really wanted to. If he could get that kind of money.
Well, people have said, though, that this may hurt someone like a Jalen Green, because one of the few things, and this is one of the few things college basketball does do for a player, I think, especially like Zion, is helps them create a brand, right? Like, I don't know if maybe Zion would have gotten as much, maybe Zion would have, but, I think Jalen Green's a player that could end up being better than Zion. That's a different discussion, but I think he is a special talent. Like, it's not a coincidence he's the first one to do this. That's how good he is, right?
Yeah, he's good looking too.
But
he's a handsome kid.
Yeah, no. He's I don't know why I agreed. I guess he's a good-looking guy. Anyways, the point is that I think that he could have maybe benefited from a college basketball team helping him build his brand, right? He's not going to have that now, so I am curious to see if that's maybe something that will take a hit.
There's definitely some value there, and you talk about Zion, who was able to secure a huge endorsement deal right at the beginning of his career. Maybe Jalen Green won't be able to do that, but what I think this is really doing is it's like insurance. He's not going and risking anything by playing in the NCAA, where he's not going to make any money, but he's able to go and bring home $500,000 that's guaranteed, that's going to happen this year. Whether or not he gets injured and whether or not he goes on to have an NBA career.
He can also get money under the table too. Like, he can make $500,000 the minimum.
True.
Well, I think like the point is that they're trying to get away from the whole NCAA like draconian rules in terms of accepting money. So I don't know if there'll be any like under the table deals. I think eventually the contract will go up, but he's free to take money from wherever he wants. That's the whole point. Yeah. But one thing I was thinking about with this, and let me know what you guys think. Like, do you think this would like ever develop to a point where like you could can these guys get like? I guess this actually really wouldn't work because they're not technically on a team yet, right?
No, not at all. Yeah, that's why they had to make a separate team, because if they joined another G League team, that team would they'd be part of that team. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
because it'd be interesting if they were on a G League team and like, yeah, no, you're right. You know what I really would like to see in the NBA, if this could potentially get to this one day, is like that European soccer model where you develop players from a young age. So, you know, you have like your U10s, U12s, U14s, U16s, and, you know, like the Knicks will have a lot of like New York talent. Like the Clippers, Lakers would have a lot of California talent because they'd be more homegrown. But I would like to see something along those lines of like NBA had their own academies where they developed players.
That'd be kind of cool.
It'd be kind of cool because
Yeah,
it's
sure.
because it works well for European soccer because it's almost like this G League program but extended throughout the kid's pretty much entire life.
I also
Yeah.
wonder. I mean, I wonder how that would work though too, in terms of like. Okay, well, this is maybe more of a again like non-basketball topic, but the fact is in Europe, their society is set up differently, where there's a lot less super poor neighborhoods. There's a lot more programs where kids are kind of equally advantaged in terms of education and stuff. I wonder if that kind of system would, if it happened in America, would end up leading just more advantaged kids who might have the ability to go. Like, who knows? Like, are they going to take care of them?
Uh-huh.
There's a lot more likely you can miss players from a young age, stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and I'm just saying like hypothetically, but I think like in terms of what you're saying, Reed, I think that something like this could actually benefit those neighborhoods more so because if these people are
Could those kids make money?
Oh yeah, like this is pretty much where like what happens in European soccer a lot of times is say like Manchester United, right? They'll take kids from all over Europe, really. It doesn't matter where you're from. It could be from all over the world. And if you're a great soccer player, say you're 10 years old, they'll say, all right, we're going to sign you to a contract and you're going to come live at the academy. We're going to school you. Everything's paid for. Like you live here, you only play soccer, and we pay your family like a small salary. And then as they get older, they get paid more. And if they make the team, then obviously they get like a professional contract. So I'd like to see something like that in the NBA.
Yeah, I think that would. I mean, to have a system where guys are fine-tuned and trained at a younger and younger age is the only way you're going to keep to improve the sport.
Uh-huh.
And I think that this sport's always improving, like all sports. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, if you wanted to bring it full circle, it's kind of like back to that LeBron Jordan point. One of the reasons I think LeBron's better is because the NBA is getting better all the time. So like, one day someone's going to be better than LeBron.
Uh-huh.
And this could be a system that, you know, allows that player to show its head, because it's only so good you can get playing in your backyard. Eventually, you need to find a way to get better, or an advantage over the previous generations at least.
Is there an age minimum for the G League like there is for the NBA?
I think it's 18.
I don't think so. Is it?
Well, because I think that kind of what you're saying, Ian, with the like having younger talent and similar to European basketball, is that these guys, like, if they don't want to go the traditional route, could theoretically play in the G League at a very young age, or have, you know, different leagues underneath the G League for specific ages, and
Yeah.
work to develop talent that way. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And so I just looked it up. Everyone listening right now, I just looked it up for your benefit. 18 years old to be eligible to play for the G League.
Okay.
Oh, here's another thought I had. I think actually it might be harder to have a farm system in basketball, because I mean the fact is, definitely it takes a lot of skill to play basketball, but you have a huge advantage the taller you are in basketball, right? And a lot of these kids, we don't know, they might hit a growth spurt when they're 18, 19, right?
Mhm.
In soccer, you can be, I mean, height does help a little bit, but you don't. The height doesn't really matter. It's just all about the skills, right? But at like 11 or 12, like, what if that guy who plays a great G League center? I mean, you know what I'm
Right.
trying to say? Like, what if
Yeah.
he ends up being 6'3" when you thought he was going to be 6'10"? Like, that's happened to a lot of kids.
And-
so
Yeah,
maybe
that's
it
a
might
great point.
I mean, that's just part of like the process that happens in the soccer too. Like this kid that you thought would, you know, he's bigger than all his competitors and he just dominates, and then he doesn't grow and they all do. Then he just kind of falls out of favor. You know, it just happens. It's just part of the process.
Damn, that's
No, it could be.
Ian said that so cold.
Well, no,
it just happens,
Well, that's
bro.
what a lot of people say is the disadvantage of this system, is that you bring kids in for their entire young life and they're great for like ages 9 to 15. Then they fall off, and then all those formidable years they were in an academy doing one thing, learning one thing. Are you actually taking away from their real potential? That's a big
Yeah, I
argument.
mean, but you're not wrong. That's kind of already happened with like certain high schools.
Yeah, of course.
Some high schools like IMG or like Montverde are pretty much that already in terms of like just bringing guys from all around the country.
Definitely.
As a boarding school, quote unquote.
And one thing that I would say, if they did implement something like that they definitely could not do is trade kids. So I don't think you can make any trades until you get to like at least the G League.
Yo, imagine that.
Imagine like, all right, we're gonna trade this 11-year-old for that 6-year-old.
That's hilarious. But yeah, I think anything you wanted to add, Sam?
Yeah, I was also thinking in this issue with like the G League. There have been other routes to the NBA that we've seen players go, specifically playing overseas. We've seen some top recruits, and recently LaMelo Ball being the most famous one, didn't finish playing in high school. Went to, instead of going to college, decided to play professionally overseas. What do you think this decision from the G League means for people like that? And do you think that? Go ahead.
I think that I think that if you're a really good basketball player but not great, but you're not interested in that college path, but you still think you could prove yourself professionally, I think going overseas is ideal. I think if you're not a top recruit like Isaiah Todd or Jalen Green, I think that if you're a top recruit, it doesn't benefit you to go overseas, and that this G League program is ideal, like almost like a perfect situation.
Does LaMelo Ball wish that this existed a year ago?
Definitely.
I think so. Although to Ian's point, they do kind of have that farm league system already in Europe.
Yeah.
In terms of basketball, like Luka Doncic came out of that, right?
Exactly.
If I'm not mistaken.
He did.
And there's a certain advantage of playing over in Europe is that you're playing against grown men, and there's like we've all heard the term grown man strength, and there's a certain truth to the fact that like if you play against a guy who's 25 or no say 20 or 23 versus a guy who's 35, 37, that 23-year-old's probably going to be more athletic, but I bet you consistently that older guy is harder to beat on a given night because their skills are so much more refined. They have the more filled out frames. Their body has more like kind of muscle memory, and I think for that reason Europe can end up breeding a lot better players like Luka Doncic.
I agree. I see what you're saying, Reed. It's just like it's a problem when players go to Europe or sometimes it could be a problem because LaMelo Ball, for instance, and RJ Hampton, they went to the NBL in Australia, which don't get me wrong, is a good game. It was a good league. You know, they were really good players. But it's not like you're playing again for Real Madrid in Spain, which is like the best team outside the U.S. Because teams like that, Barcelona.
I thought that was a soccer team.
It is, but they have like their basketball teams too. Like Barcelona, Real Madrid, like those basketball teams, they don't want players to come there for 1 year and then go to the NBA. Like they sign people to contracts and they say, no, we want you to stay here. So it's like so you don't always get to play against that top competition, and you have to go to a secondary league like the Australian League.
That sucks.
Sam?
Well, I think LaMelo, like, it feels like a little bit calculated, the way that he's had all of these moves and played in different places. Talking about a brand, like this kid definitely has a brand, and he's established that outside of the NCAA. And when he goes to the NBA, maybe as a top pick, he's already going to have a ton of fans.
Yeah,
You're right.
I mean, I think LaMelo, you're right. I think we also underestimate Melo, myself included, because we forget he played pro basketball at like 14 years old or something like that. He's young.
He is 6'8", and he's a point guard.
Yeah, and he's good.
He's good.
Good. Like his mechanics seem really. Oh, sorry. I'm good.
Oh God.
I'm not sick. I'm fine. I think his mechanics are a little sloppy and weird, but like I think.
Next podcast, we're gonna be like, so it's just me and Sam this time.
Shut up. I just sound like Darth Vader.
So continue your point, Reed.
Right.
LaMelo.
I think LaMelo Ball. I forgot what I was gonna say now.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you, Reed.
You got wrapped up in a Star Wars reference, and then your mind just went blank.
No, it's more about the ventilator joke that bombed, but we're good. Yeah, we're good.
I mean, Reed is definitely. I'm definitely in the camp that this most recent Star Wars, The Last Jedi, was probably the best. Or sorry, The Rise of Skywalker. was probably the best Star Wars.
Oh yeah. No, if you're really into pieces of shit, it's wonderful.
It wasn't.
But anyways, let's talk about basketball. Because we're gonna have to open up a whole new Star Wars Rim Check podcast if you make me start talking about that.
Reed, you'd be the only person on that podcast,
And it's only listener.
Oh shit, guys! I just got some really bad news. It's about my grandma.
Reed, we're going to need you to stop talking because we have some breaking news on the Rim Check podcast. Ty Lue, that's right, Ty Lue is interested in coaching the Nets. He's interested in the Brooklyn Nets job. You think that's a good hire?
Did you know that Ty is short for Tylunathy? Or Timothy? I messed it up. Never mind.
Okay, just gonna go right past that. Does Ty Lue know that Kyrie Irving plays for the Nets?
Yeah,
as I'm sure many of our listeners know, Ty Lue and Kyrie have a very interesting history together. They definitely maybe aren't the best of friends, but maybe they're willing to hash it out for Brooklyn.
Well, when Kyrie requested a trade away from the Cavs and got traded to Boston, one of the reasons that he was happy to go there was because he was going to have a coach to challenge him. That was the big thing. So, you know, he had essentially said that Ty Lue wasn't teaching him anything and that Brad Stevens would. I don't know why Ty would want to get back into that situation, but as a Brooklyn fan, I would be very happy to have him.
I think that if you have even a chance to coach Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and Karis LeVert, I think you got to jump on that.
Yeah, you can get by that, I'm sure, right? Because they also had a lot of great moments together. It's also like you can work with someone you don't like necessarily. I'm sure actually everyone does it at some point, right? In your office, you don't have everyone you work with, but you kind of have to. And the fact is, like, if you know you're going to do a good job with them and they'll make your job better, like if Ty Lue can get another championship possibly as a head coach, I think he'd be willing to like suck up a few things to do that.
Well, the situation is definitely similar to Cleveland when he was brought in to coach the LeBron Cavs. You know, it was a team that had really clear title aspirations. They were going, like, it was win now right when he took over, and it was stars that didn't need any developing. It was just guys that needed to be able, you know, to manage them, but it was win now stars in their prime.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's actually a fair point.
But I don't think that this Brooklyn team's complete yet. I think they need to make a trade to like really be able to get over the hump of being able to beat LeBron Lakers or, you know, Kawhi Clippers.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point too. I think defensively, they definitely going to need help a little bit, right? Because Kevin Durant on LeBron, I think Anthony Davis. I mean, that's okay. Now we're getting into hypothetical matchup discussions, but
well, like think about this. All right, think about this, boys. So, say the Nets trade Spencer Dinwiddie, Jared Allen, Karis LeVert. Honestly, you could probably throw in 2 firsts there because they're going to be too late first that they won't even use and would really just hurt their cap. Say you throw that in for Bradley Beal. Who's going to stop that team? Who's going to stop Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and Bradley Beal? Like, what do you do on defense? You just hope for the best?
Do you think that forces the Lakers to retool?
Oh,
what can they retool with, though?
Well,
yeah,
they could find a way. Assets. They could find a way. They'd have to dump out their entire team like the Miami Heat did to get Chris Bosh, Wade, and LeBron together, you know?
Isn't that what they did last year to get Anthony Davis?
Yeah, but I think they have a few more bigger contracts. They literally need to get rid of players like Danny Green or Kyle Kuzma, unless they're guys that like were willing to take a lot less money. I don't know. I was just making another hypothetical off a hypothetical.
I think that right now the Lakers right now they beat the Nets for sure. But I think that if you get Bradley Beal on the Nets, then it's like a toss up. I don't think Bradley Beal on the Nets makes them a clear favorite over the Lakers.
Also, I wonder if maybe I wonder how much of an impact Bradley Beal would have, because like we usually see when these big threes are formed, that one guy's career kind of takes a back seat in terms of like Chris Bosh, Kevin Love. I'm drawing a blank for another third one, but like there's always one guy who doesn't get the full piece of the pie, and also big threes tend to be made up of at least one big man. Like you're talking about a big three with 3 guards for the most part, right? Kevin Durant can play big, but he's not. So I feel like maybe that would actually hurt them more than... I mean, not hurt them more than help them, but Bradley Beal might not be as great a fit as we think he could be.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, but like the Warriors did it with Clay, Steph, and KD.
It could be done. It could be done. That's a good point too.
I could see this trade being good for both sides and actually happening. I mean, you look at the Nets and they have these young guys, LeVert, Dinwiddie, and Jared Allen. I'd say all have the potential to grow into stars, but maybe aren't at the best that they're going to be right now. And from the Nets' perspective, you're trying to go on and win, obviously, right now while you have KD and Kyrie. And from Washington, I mean, what package are you going to get that's better than 2 first-round picks and 3 building blocks? I can't come up with a better package than that.
Also, one dude who dropped 50 points and had a triple double in 1 week. So you're getting you're getting a legit player, no doubt.
And I heard he went to a great college too.
He went to he did. He was on one of the best college teams of all time, and also he's on a really reasonable contract. That's the real seller, is Karis LeVert's contract, because he cost you very little. But can I just propose one more trade for the Nets if Washington says fuck you, we're not going to trade with you?
Sure.
That's kind of rude.
So I think that if they could do something along the lines of Dinwiddie, Allen, and you probably do have to throw in at least 1 first, maybe even 2, for Aaron Gordon or John Collins. How do you feel about that?
Aaron Gordon?
I think either of those guys bring something that the Nets don't really have, which is someone at that 4 or 5 spot who can actually create for you.
Stretch the floor, rebound.
Right.
Is it Aaron Gordon? I would have put Aaron Gordon kind of on the same level as Karis LeVert, though. I mean, maybe a little bit better, but is he worth all that? 2 first rounds?
I think he's on the same, around the same level, but he just brings something that the team doesn't have. Like, LeVert is a shot creator, and do you really need that when you have KD and Kyrie?
Yeah, but I don't think they need to give up.
You need someone who can rebound and stretch the floor on that team.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I can see that for sure. And I guess that's probably a more reasonable player that would be moved as opposed to, like... I guess so. Yeah, I'm trying to think about someone else. Then do you try to get someone like a Kevin Love for like a smaller contract, something like that?
He's on that contract for too long. It's too expensive.
Oh yeah, I forgot about how big his contract is. I forgot. Yeah.
I was also playing around with the ESPN trade machine. Thanks to ESPN for sponsoring this episode of the Rim Check podcast.
Thank you.
And one trade that I really liked was Denver and New Orleans making a trade. Basically just saying Denver going all in on winning now, and New Orleans recognizing that they're probably not going to make the playoffs. And so the trade would be J.J. Redick and Drew Holiday for Gary Harris and Michael Porter Jr.
Ooh, any picks?
Yeah, you got to throw in a couple picks there. I think that maybe the Nuggets throw in a pick or 2, but for what they're getting back, I mean, I think that they can afford to send whatever New Orleans would want.
Yeah, because excuse me. No, I fuck with that trade because Drew Holiday's on a big-ass contract. His timeline is way ahead of that team, so they're obviously going to look for some value in him. JJ is on, a 1 or 2 year deal. He's getting up there in age. The Nuggets want players like that can kind of contribute to a win now. They're kind of past that we're rebuilding stage. No, I like that trade a lot. I mean, I think you definitely need a couple picks to make it happen, but, like, I think Michael Porter Jr. and, like, the small sample size we've seen in him has shown flashes, and I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
If you can, could you imagine a team if Michael Porter Jr. pans out to as good as he can be and is healthy, and you have Michael Porter Jr., Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, like what? That team is crazy.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say I don't think they would want to. I think Denver doesn't want to part with Michael Porter Jr. though. Like, isn't that someone they really want to hold on to tightly?
Definitely, it definitely seems that way. But also, like, if you're looking at this trade and you're Denver, it's like, yeah, Michael Porter might be amazing, and he might be the key to winning a championship 3, 4, 5 years from now. But if you get Drew Holiday and J.J. Redick, who's just a very solid veteran and brings something they need on your team, playing with Jokic, who's already, I mean, a top 10 player for sure. Jamal Murray's really good at what he does. I think that elevates them to be in contention.
Would that team be good enough to win a championship? Because I don't think at all. They wouldn't have a chance. I don't think.
You know, I think that's the kind of team, like, we saw them last year in the playoffs, and, you know, for how young they are, I think that they've done really well. Maybe you give it a year or 2 for them to age, but if Jokic keeps getting better at the rate that he's gotten so far in his career, I think that could be a contender.
So that's what it is. So I kind of think Jokic is where he is. I don't think he's going to get much better than this. You guys think that Jamal Murray and Jokic can get better?
I definitely think so.
Jamal Murray's really 22. Jamal
really?
Murray's like
Yeah.
weirdly young. Like he's only 22 years old.
I could be sleeping on them, but they just feel so much like the Atlanta Hawks of a couple years ago. And
Remember
I
that
don't know.
the Western Conference Finals every
Yeah.
year and they get swept by LeBron.
Yeah, yeah. I get what you guys are saying. Everything you say on paper makes sense, but my gut biome just goes no.
Well, okay, Reed. So then you give us a proposed trade for a team that's on the verge of contending.
Well, this is actually my thing because I tried so desperately to find a trade from my Miami Heat because I think that, they're going to be future NBA champions, and I would love to be the one who discovered first how they're going to do it. But the problem is like the way their salary is set up, at least through ESPN's trade machine, as Sam said, that Jimmy Butler makes $32 million a year, right? And so they couldn't even afford to get someone like a Bradley Beal because he was the first one I thought that would be a great fit for that team, especially if you look at someone like a Bam Adebayo, he's getting compared to Alonzo Mourning, which is a really big deal if that's really what they think of him, right? So he would be probably an unmovable piece. And so I guess you'd have to get rid of Tyler Hero and stuff like that. But the Heat literally don't have enough money to do that. And so I think the one team that it's kind of almost like I would say it's ironic, but the one team that could help Miami really become a title contender is Philadelphia, where they got Jimmy Butler from. Because I think Ben Simmons, for instance, would be a great piece on the Miami Heat. And I think that he's a good enough player that he could have a real championship impact, but just, I won't want to say bad enough, but just low enough that I could see Philadelphia willing to move him for a good deal. But of course, Jimmy Butler was traded from Philadelphia because he didn't want to play there, and then obviously Ben Simmons didn't really like playing with Jimmy Butler, so you couldn't trade Jimmy Butler there or keep him there if you brought Ben Simmons. So that kind of cancels. There was a lot of stuff going on, but
yeah. So I think with the Sixers, I think if they're going to trade anybody, it's going to be Joel Embiid because he's kind of that guy from the past regiment. He's from the past administration, the past regiment. I think that Ben Simmons is Philly's guy.
I hope so.
I think that's who they want to. I think that's who they'd rebuild around, or they'd build around if they had to pick. I disagree. I'd pick Embiid, but I have seen things connecting Embiid to other teams. I've seen.
Do you think Embiid could go to Miami?
I think, dude. Honestly, I could see Embiid getting traded to Miami, especially with the thing that happened with him and Butler. I could see Embiid going to Brooklyn. I could see him getting traded for sure.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that's a smarter decision. I didn't have enough faith in the 76ers to make a smarter decision.
No, yeah, from everything I read, it really sounds like they'd be much more willing to part with Embiid than they would Simmons.
It was injury problems, right?
I'm sure that's part of it. I mean, I disagree. I think he's great. I would keep him over Simmons, but,
Really?
I would.
What about you, Sam?
Who
What
would
do
you
think?
guys keep?
Oh, I definitely think that Embiid is more of a winner on that team than Ben Simmons is, and I think that neither one of them has been able to fully play their best just based on the makeup of the roster. You would need to fully rebuild the roster around the game of one of those guys. So I think Embiid is the better player overall.
Yes, I disagree completely. I think Ben Simmons is a generational player built for this type of play in the league. Not that Joel Embiid's bad, and I can see why you guys are saying that because I think right now Joel Embiid is more dominant at his position than Ben Simmons is, but I think that's also a product of the fact that the NBA isn't a league where big guys dominate anymore. There's just not that many big guys to kind of put pressure on Embiid. And that all being said, on top of that, I think Embiid's health is a big concern. It's not just a little thing. I think it's a really big thing, and especially when you're someone who's 7 foot plus. They've shown to just break down a lot quicker than we think, a la Andrew Bynum. I literally saw a meme that Andrew Bynum is Joel Embiid, but funny on Twitter. If he wasn't funny on Twitter or something like that, I could definitely see Joel Embiid. I don't wish it on him, but I could definitely see him not having as long a career as we think he will. While Ben Simmons, on the other hand, I think is going to have a long career. Whether it's as good or not, that's to be debated.
I disagree with that point, Reed. I think Joel Embiid is nothing.
How dare you?
Is nothing like Andrew Bynum. I think Andrew Bynum, you can compare him to Roy Hibbert. I don't think you can compare him to Joel Embiid.
Just in the idea of a big guy who kind of injuries and some other things flamed out a lot faster than we thought.
Yeah, and I mean, Joel Embiid, he has that injury history. He missed his first 2 seasons, but I mean, they keep him on that strict minute restriction and they don't play him all the time. I mean, he's had his share of injuries, but he's been relatively healthy in these past few years.
That's a good point too.
He had, don't get me wrong, he's had injuries, and you're right. The bigger you are, the more prone to injuries you are. Look at KP. He had an ACL injury and he was out for 2 years.
Okay, I'm honestly, I'm kind of salty about it too. I was playing 2K yesterday, Court Conqueror, and I was playing against Joel Embiid and 76ers, and that man greened 2 threes in a row. And the guys are hyping him up too much. After that,
No,
I have to admit, I do have a little
He can
hate.
do that shit in real life.
Yeah,
No, he
if
can't.
Embiid's gonna make a 3, it's because he greened it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Embiid is not going to. Never mind. Whatever. I think they're both great, but Ben Simmons is the guy you build around. I'm glad we all agreed that I was correct. Cool.
Can we just do one before we go? Can I just propose one more question?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. I'm gonna propose this question.
Reed can sit it out. I'll listen to it.
Okay, thank you. When you're playing 2K, who's your least favorite player to play against? Like, who just pisses you off every time you play this player and you're like, he's not this good in real life. He's not this good. Who, Reed?
Oh no, that's even a better point because I was going to say Kawhi, but Kawhi is actually really good. So
Mine's
Yeah,
Russell
I
Westbrook.
got to think about this harder.
Oh, Westbrook's a great answer. I was thinking Steph, but Steph is that good, and it's just that infuriating to play against him. But Westbrook's a great answer.
Every time I play Westbrook, this dude shuts me down on defense. He just blows by me, gets every fucking which he does get a lot of he does get a lot of shots at the rim, which I'll give him that. But dude, like, he is a good defender when he tries, but not like this, dude. He's like fucking locked down.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
That's
to me,
probably-
the nuance of playing in the regular season when they don't give a shit.
Yeah. Also, by the way, to everyone listening, I play on the hardest setting, so it's not like I'm on rookie.
Ooh,
Wow.
gosh, that's a
Yeah. It's all the ladies out
Yeah.
there, if you heard that.
Yeah.
My gamer
Yeah.
tag is "It's your boy."
that's actually hilarious. That's actually really good. That's a really good point though. I want to think about that though because I can't think of anyone right off the top of my head that isn't actually that good. But I also don't play. I usually play my career all the time, if I'm being honest. So I don't
Yeah.
really remember playing against a lot of
Uh-huh.
NBA players. But Sam, do you have one comes to mind?
I think I want to give that one some thought. Also, why don't we start the next episode of our podcast, and we'll have some good answers for that.
I think it's a great idea.
That's a perfect idea. Or we want to wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up. To all the fans, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
You guys are the people that make us go. We do this for you. I know we're all stuck in this quarantine, but we're in this together, and we're going to get out of this together, and you're going to get through this with us. So thanks, everybody.
I actually want to make up a cute sign off if you guys want to try. I'll go, I'm Reed, and then you each say your name. So I'm Reed, and then Ian goes Ian, and Sam goes Sam, and we go, and this has been the Rim Check Podcast.
I will never, ever do that.
Yeah, I don't want to
Okay.
do that either.
Yeah, no, I think that's weird.
How about this? How about I would say thanks to my mom for listening to this, but she turned it off 45 minutes ago.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that is good. What do you to all the listeners out
Weirdly
there? If you
accurate.
like that, just write in and say, you know what we'll do next time, Sam, Reed, and Ian. What we're gonna do next time is we're gonna write outros, and then we're gonna say to all the fans, write in what your favorite one is, and then when our two fans,
Oh, yeah.
if they write in one, we'll figure it out.
Well, at least now we know one of those aren't going to be my mom, so.
It'll be my mom.
No, yeah, because Ian has a supportive family. Anyways, well, at least the one thing they can do is follow us at the Rim Check Show on Instagram, Twitter. Subscribe to us on YouTube. This is your new favorite basketball podcast, and we're very happy to be that. Anything else, guys? All right.
That's about it.
Peace.
All right,
Peace.
thank
Bye.
you.